What's up, guys? My name is John. This is Across the Board, and we're going to recap all of week one of the NFL. So I made a prediction video that did not come out because it was just too late. I was trying to edit it while week one was going on. I just figured it wasn't good enough. But we are going to recap everything. I'll kind of give my takes on if anything changed for me throughout the games and what really changed for my predictions. So we're going to start off with the first game, which is Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. Is the first game of the NFL season. And I think the story coming out of this was that both teams didn't really do much to impress and to really claim themselves as the leader in the NFC North. And I do agree with that kind of narrative going on right now. But the Packers won 10-3 against Chicago. And though both defenses looked great, both offenses struggled. The offensive line for Green Bay really surprised me in how much they were not protecting Aaron. And I think that Aaron was looking very frustrated throughout the game, and I don't know why, but for me, like watching the clip of them focusing in on Aaron Rodgers just after getting sacked another time and just seeing the frustration in his face, I could see that as just a thing that just continues to happen. I could see that picture or that moment continuously going on throughout the season. I was really encouraged with Green Bay's defense. Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, the pass rushers, came out and really impressed, as well as Adrian Amos, who's a new addition as well, coming from Chicago. This team, I think, is going to be improved. But that offensive line, man, it needs work. The whole offense as a whole needs work. But if we're speaking on offenses that really need work, Chicago is the real team there. I'm really surprised with the play calling of this game. We've heard so much about David Montgomery going to be a huge feature into the Chicago offense, and he really wasn't. Tariq Cohen's basically a wide receiver, which is fine. I was really impressed with Allen Robinson, a guy that I've kind of been low on, and I seen that PFF kind of put up a thing of he had like Hackenberg, and he just had like really bad quarterbacks it was like Hackenberg, Bortles, and now Mitch Trubisky, which is unfortunate for Allen Robinson because now I'm thinking what would he have been or what could he still be with a better but Trubisky really struggled in this game, and I think that the Chicago's really got to try to figure this out. I think this season is a really good season to try to figure out what Mitch Trubisky is, because if you look at Jacksonville, they likely missed their entire window because they just kept going with Blake Bortles, even though they knew that he wasn't really a championship caliber quarterback. Joe Flacco really fucked over the market on a quarterback, and Nick Foles. They've kind of shown that like you only have to be at this certain tier if you have a great team around you. And I do think that Mitch is better than Joe Flacco, but it's such a hard thing to bank on that you don't need this great quarterback to win the championship. The Chicago Bears defense is still very, very good, which really encouraged me because I had a little bit of doubts with Vic Fangio gone. Not that Chicago was going to fall out of like the top 5 or top 10 defenses, but there were some questions of maybe like are they going to be top 5 defense or something? And I don't have any questions about that. I think Chicago is going to be a top 5 defense, but Mitch, they have to figure out this year who Mitch is because they don't want to miss their window. I was the guy. I've made articles. I've made a ton of podcasts talking about how high I was on Pat Mahomes before even the draft. That was my guy from that draft, was Pat Mahomes. And my other guy was Deshaun Watson. And I just never understood the big hype around Mitch Trubisky, and I was really trying to figure it out. I just couldn't. And I'm still at that point. I'm still where I saw him at the draft. It was just I don't get why everybody's so high on him. Second game I want to talk about, the team that everyone believed in, including myself. I think I had them at 11-5, tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but actually being ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm trying to be unbiased about everything. It looks like a really dumb prediction right now. The Browns got obliterated by the Tennessee Titans, 43-13. Tennessee did whatever they wanted. It was a Derrick Henry show. He did great. He had a big 75-yard run later in the game, but even before that, he was really, really good. And then A.J. Brown. The story of the game for me is A.J. Brown. A tremendous wide receiver. He was my favorite wide receiver in the draft. And I think that now Tennessee has their wide receiver 1, which is even better when they have questions similar to Chicago, when they have the questions about Marcus Mariota. How good is Marcus Mariota? Should they be paying Marcus Mariota, franchise quarterback type money? And I've said no. I've said it on him and Jameis. You know, like, I'm very low on those guys. Also, on Tennessee's end, I was really surprised with Cameron Wake. 37 years old. I mean, Cameron Wake's a great player, but I definitely had questions about him going to a new team and being so, was he just going to play a veteran role? No, he eliminated all those questions. He was terrific in this game. And though the Browns have a really bad offensive line, it's still at 37 years old, when you can get someone like that and still being that productive, that's a huge win in the offseason for Tennessee, which they did have a good offseason. Now, on the Browns end, I mean, truly what I believe is America's team, the Cleveland Browns. And this was the opener of hell. Opener from hell. This was their nightmare opener of just being crushed. Baker just did not look good throughout the game, and that's mainly part of the offensive line. Now, myself, I'm putting myself in criticism here, is I think that everyone just kind of was like, look at all of this talent. Like, I was really surprised at the Browns just being able to just get Sheldon Richardson, and they were just able to do that throughout the offseason. Was just to get these guys that are really good, that just felt like a New England Patriots move, that they were just able to get good guys, and just everyone bought into the team, bought into this ideology, and I thought they were going to be very dangerous. And I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, they'll figure the offensive line out. I shouldn't have done that, because you can't just try to figure out the offensive line. Greg Robinson ends up kicking a defensive player on Tennessee in the head, just a dumb move. And really, the entire team was undisciplined with nearly 200 yards in penalties. This was terrible for Cleveland. Also, then the left tackle, I believe it's Lamb, ends up getting hurt as well. And then the right tackle is Chris Hubbard, which, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you know, he was a backup right tackle for us for a while behind Marcus Gilbert. And I never understood why Cleveland gave Hubbard such a big contract. I still see the Browns making the playoffs. I still do. I'm not going to be the guy that's just completely down on the Browns. But I think that they really have to find that offensive line and maybe call Washington for Trent Williams, or they're going to need to do some moves. And I think that they will. The Browns and John Dorsey seem like they are a ballsy team that will go for it. And I think that they're going to make some moves for the offensive line, especially after this game. But Freddie Kitchens, he's got to get this team disciplined. Third game I'm going to talk about is a game I don't want to talk about as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. The Steelers just did not have the fight. They didn't have the passion. They didn't have anything. I was posting on Reddit after the Patriots had signed Antonio Brown. I was like, you know what? It's us versus them. This heightens the rivalry. This is Liverpool versus Man United. This is Ohio State versus Michigan. This is that type of shit. Like, let's make it that kind of rivalry. And I thought that this was going to be something that we could see multiple times this season. You know, going into the playoffs, we could see the Steelers versus Patriots again and just keep that rivalry alive, because we have not been able to do anything in Foxborough over the last 10 years. And we still didn't. Like, not even close. We were not ready. And that is a huge concern for everybody. Devin Bush looked good. I'll get to the positives of Pittsburgh for a second, because there's not many. Devin Bush, he looked impressive. TJ Watt, he looked impressive. Joe Hayden was actually pretty good. Even though, you know, like, I think that when you just look at the box score, you look at the stats, Joe didn't look all that great. But really, the Patriots picked apart the safeties, which, of course, when you have a guy like Cameron Kelly, who came from the AAF, starting for you, and he picked apart like guys like Mark Barron, Vince Williams. He really picked apart that linebacking core. And Brady was just Brady, man. Like, he got the ball off in 2 seconds. So I really can't even hate on Cam Hayward or Hargrave or Tuitt's performances, because it's not like Brady had all the time in the world. He just was able to go, okay, here's the matchup here. I know that this guy's going to beat this guy, and boom, and he got it. And he was right every single time between Josh Gordon or Julian Edelman or Philip Dorsett. And Brady was able to do that. And it's something that we see a ton with Brady. And we figured it out in the second half of last year's game. And Joe Hayden was a big part of that. And we switched our safeties and corners, and Terrell Edmunds was actually decently impressive in that game, and he wasn't in this game. We made adjustments, and at halftime, Bill Belichick was like, oh, yeah, obviously Pittsburgh's going to make adjustments. They didn't score anything by halftime. And Mike Tomlin, who I'm super high on, I think Mike Tomlin's a top 3 to 5 coach in the NFL, was like, no, we just need to play better, not make halftime adjustments. That's a problem. This game, fully goes, I mean, on the defense, the play calling, which includes Tomlin and Ben, and of course Dante Moncrief, who Moncrief could not catch a thing. That's really frustrating when you give a guy that kind of money and you give the hopes that, I mean, though there's going to be some narratives about Juju. Is he a wide receiver number one? Yes, he is. He caught 6 passes. He was facing Stephon Gilmore, who's maybe the best corner in the NFL. He's certainly top 5. And they really focused on Juju. And he ended up getting like something like 6 catches for 78 yards. I don't have this stat in front of me, but something like that. And Juju looked which isn't great when, you're hoping that he can take over the Antonio Brown role if someone's going to take over the Juju role. But the bigger problem is nobody can take over the Juju role. And I certainly think that was something that I was afraid of this season. James Conner is a very good running back. And this is my other point. Randy Fichtner. I've never just seen a guy just so down on the running game. And that was a huge problem. I think it was like, if we ran the ball with Conner last year, it was something around like 20 to 30 times a game, which of course, when you're up, you run more. So sure, this stat is a little diluted. But still, the point remains of when they ran the ball with like 25 times with James Conner, we won every single game. We need to feed the rock to Conner. And you can't just, it's like a basketball player. You can't just tell them to immediately go in. We're only going to give you 10 carries, but we need 100 yards out of you. We need 80 yards out of you. You have to get in some kind of rhythm. And, Fichtner just in a lot of games just does not let that happen for James Conner, and it's super frustrating. And this happened again. James Conner only 10 carries. It's ridiculous to do that for James Conner. Even though, I mean, we were out from the get-go. We were down. But you still need to establish that run, because then it's just been in, 4 wide set, 5 wide set, just basically chucking it. And with their impressive defensive backs, that just wasn't happening for us. James Washington looked okay in a few plays, and I mean, if I'm honest, man, I've been a huge Ben critic, and I'm still going to be after this game. Though I'll give Ben credit, he completely put the blame on him. It's a thing that I've been saying about Ben for years, and now it's kind of come out this year with the whole Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell stuff that maybe Ben isn't the best teammate. I always thought that Ben kind of was not the guy to put the thing on himself. He put the game on himself. He kind of found ways to blame people or blame something or blame a situation or just say the other team was really good or whatever and not put the blame on himself. He put the blame on himself in this game, but he did miss some crucial throws, especially the one that he was getting in the back of the end zone for Dante Moncrief, who knows if Moncrief would have actually got that ball. But Ben looked bad in this game, and this was overall just really unnerving game for Pittsburgh, and especially as a fan, I'm very concerned about what's going to be going on in Pittsburgh. The next game I want to talk about is the debut of Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals tying with the Detroit Lions. This game gave me a lot of encouragement for Kyler. I was really high on him during the draft. I do think that he was deserving of that number 1 pick, and I think that this game showed that, especially that drive to tie up the game and to get the 2-point conversion. I think Kyler has that Baker Mayfield leadership type thing, and I think that Kyler can take over a game, and I think that we got that in week 1. Now there should be a lot of the questions about Kyler answered. It doesn't matter how short he is. He can run with his legs, but he's also a very, very good pocket quarterback, and I'm really encouraged about what I've seen with Kyler. I think that Arizona's still not going to be great, and they showed that, this offensive line still wasn't phenomenal, but then again, that is because of how good the defensive line and just all-around pass rush that the Lions have. The big story for Detroit is TJ Hawkinson. TJ looked phenomenal and looks, I'm not going to say that he's George Kittle, but I think in a few years, we could definitely be seeing him at least at that, George Kittle level, if not higher, because this is the biggest debut for a tight end of all time for yards, 124, I think. And I believe he caught a touchdown. So TJ Hawkins had a huge day, and that gives some encouragement for Detroit. The next game we got to talk about is New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. And, okay, so here's the thing I want to talk about the Giants. Saquon Barkley, that's it. The Dallas Cowboys looked phenomenal. Ezekiel Elliott, he looked all right, but he wasn't the story of the game. Just coming off the contract, but it was the guy that wants the contract. It was the guy that may be getting the contract here in a few days. Dak Prescott game. Like, he showed all of the potential that he had with a perfect pass rate of 158.3, and he killed it in the play action, man. I mean, having a running back as good as this is the whole narrative of like running backs don't matter. Running backs matter if you're able to establish them and to establish the run. And that's exactly what they were able to do with Zeke. You have to stack the box against Zeke. And then because they were fearing the run, Dak Prescott was able to utilize the play action perfectly. Michael Gallup had a huge game. Amari Cooper, Jason Witten even caught a touchdown and looked very good, just finding his spots. And this team looks like a well-oiled machine. I was a little down, and when I say little down, I had Dallas as the 5th seed, going, I believe, 11-5. But I might be a little too down on Dallas, in my opinion. I think Dallas could be a 12-4 to 13-3 team, and they could even take the NFC East. I think that I'm just really high on Dallas. The next game I want to talk about, and these games will probably just go a little bit quicker on, but it's Tampa Bay versus San Francisco. I think this game kind of became two teams that everybody was wondering about the quarterbacks, and there's still a lot of questions. Particularly, I think that some questions got answered, maybe, with Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston, and it's not a good thing. Jameis Winston throws 3 interceptions. Jameis Winston, when I was talking about Mariota not really having a wide receiver, Jameis Winston does, and he has plenty of wide receivers. He has Mike Evans, and he has Chris Godwin, and now he has O.J. Howard, and he has plenty of weapons, and still, I know he doesn't have a run game, which, again, as I was talking about with Dallas, you need to establish the run. But I think that Jameis has had a lot of weapons and had a lot of opportunities to do something and just has not done it. And I don't see Jameis as a franchise quarterback. San Francisco didn't have a great performance from their quarterback either, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy coming off the injury, it's great to get that win. They had a nice 31-17 win, but I think he only had 166 yards. He wasn't really all that great. It was really the San Francisco defense, particularly Nick Bosa, who was doing great. The number 2 overall pick, Ohio State. Bosa had a phenomenal performance, and I don't think that as long as he can stay healthy, which is a little bit of a question for me with Nick, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be phenomenal in this league, man. He's going to be Joey. He's going to be phenomenal. And then Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman is still playing at a super, super high level, man. Stop questioning Richard Sherman. He is a great footballer still. And was able to get a pick 6 against Jameis. Just all around, he just played a phenomenal game. The next matchup, the Jets versus the Bills. And I think I maybe was a little too down on the Bills. Maybe, I don't know, maybe too high on the Jets. I think I had the Jets at 9-7. I'm kind of high on the Jets, I think. And I think their fan base was telling me that too. Like, maybe chill a little bit. But I really like the addition of Le'Veon Bell. I think Le'Veon Bell is one of the best backs in the league, and I think by the end of the year could establish himself as the best back in the league. He had a good game, nearly 100 yards in total yards and a touchdown, utilizing himself in the passing game and the running game. There was talks that Ty Montgomery was going to be utilized a lot. Le'Veon Bell played 100% of the snaps, so that really wasn't a thing. For the Bills, it was all about Devin Singletary, that they have their running back now in the future, and the running back's name isn't Josh Allen. But the impressive stat for me with Devin Singletary is 70 yards on 4 attempts. They need to give the ball more to Singletary. They found their guy. Give him the ball. Stop making a running back. Stop making it a running back committee, and just go with Devin Singletary. Next game, Vikings versus Falcons. Really impressed with the Vikings here. I was kind of down on them. I had them at like 9-7 or 8-8, somewhere around there. Rivaling Chicago, but maybe not being as good. But I did think that they were one of the teams that I knew that I was down on them a little bit and that I might be wrong on this. And I think I'm probably wrong on this. Kirk Cousins had a very good game. Dalvin Cook just really impressed. And then they still have Adam Thielen. They have Stephon Diggs. They have weapons, Kyle Rudolph. Though the offensive line didn't look great, unfortunately, because I think that if they can figure out this offensive line, that they're going to be a really good team. This was surprisingly a really bad game by the Falcons. I kind of have the Falcons around like that 8-8 range as well. I want to believe in Matt Ryan. He's a very good quarterback. When you look at his numbers, Matt Ryan is still a very good quarterback in this league and around that elite level almost. But he didn't have a great game. Julio didn't have a great game. The offense just could do nothing. They couldn't really establish a run with Devontae Freeman. Just overall, this was just a Vikings game. And I think that, Atlanta, similar to Pittsburgh, they just got to take this L and figure out, all right, we did everything wrong in this game. How do we get better? The next game I want to talk about is Baltimore versus Miami. And it's the Lamar Jackson show. I mean, we can talk about Hollywood Brown being great. We can talk about that offensive line protecting Lamar and really impressing me there. But Lamar Jackson, perfect pass rating, 158.3. And 5 touchdowns, really did nothing with his legs, just passing. If you gave Lamar some time in the pocket, he will kill you. And I am so happy that so many people now kind of have to eat crow with Lamar. Not to say, hey, now Lamar is an all-pro quarterback, but I do think that they just have a franchise quarterback on their hands in Lamar Jackson. I'm so happy for Lamar. This isn't like, I don't think that he's now a top 5 quarterback, but I think that he has that potential, and there was a lot of people that really, really doubted that potential. On Miami side, they're tanking. They're just straight up tanking, and they're tanking bad. Well, they're doing very well at taking. I think that they're going to get the number 1 pick. They're taking Tua Tagovailoa. Though I really want to see what Josh Rosen has. I don't think that they should have traded for a guy and not give him the time to just see what he has, even though Miami's offensive line is really bad. And I am worried about that for Rosen. I think that they just see what Rosen has for this season. Just fuck this Ryan Fitzpatrick shit. Just give, let's see what Rosen has. I was high on Rosen. I still am. I like Rosen. But now there's a lot of players wanting out, and I do understand that. I can kind of go into a tanking video. Maybe I'll make a tanking video this week. Just talking about tanking in the NFL. Next game is the Rams versus the Panthers, and I'm kind of at a weird place. I wasn't crazy impressed by anything other than maybe Corey Littleton on the Rams. I still think that there's questions about Cam's health. Jared Goff had a good game, and Todd Gurley still had over 100 yards rushing, but he wasn't utilized as much, and then maybe there is a little bit of concern with that knee. Rams still get the win. Rams still more talented. I do think that Carolina still looked good in this game, though. Christian McCaffrey looked amazing. Next game we have Kansas City versus Jacksonville. Pat Mahomes, I mean, what do you say? Pat Mahomes looked great. Sammy Watkins looked great. Travis Kelce looked great. Tyreek Hill looked good before he got injured. And I think the big story just coming out of Kansas City is they don't have to worry about what personnel that they have. This offense is just going to click, and whoever is in this offense is going to be good. And it's not to say that they can only have scrubs or that Sammy Watkins and guys aren't amazing, but I don't think that they have to worry about losing guys. They just, all right, it's the next man up mentality, and that's really good for their offense. Their offense is still going to just produce, and I believe in Pat Mahomes as just. That's my man. That's my guy. That's my guy. Pat Mahomes, my guy. Jacksonville obviously loses Nick Foles in this game. Gardner Minshew looked good. Gardner Minshew's a very smart quarterback. I don't think that he's going to make a lot of mistakes. I don't think that he's a franchise quarterback or anything. But it is sad a little bit. Just Jacksonville looks like they may have missed their window, and especially now with Nick out. I think that they probably missed their window of having a really great defense, but just wasting their time with Blake Bortles, unfortunately. I'm rooting for Jacksonville because AEW. Shout outs to the Khan family. But sorry, I think that this may be time to start thinking about a rebuild. Unless they can do something, get a great wide receiver, or even improve that defense even more to establish it as the number 1 defense or something, and wait for next year with Nick Foles. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the window's closing. Next game. Cincinnati loses to Seattle 20-21, and Seattle didn't look as good as I thought, and Cincinnati looked better than I thought. But I'm still really down on Cincinnati. I think I had them at 3-13. I still have them probably around there. They don't have the talent, and they really lost a lot in the offensive line with retiring and Jonah Williams, who I was really high on, being out for the season. Jadeveon Clowney looked great. And Seattle looked okay, but I still think that Seattle needs some work, but I still see them sneaking into the playoffs as well. I think maybe one of the stories is going to be coming out about Dalton, about how he threw for the most yards in the week. How is he not regarded with the likes of Lamar and Dak? But he just really wasn't all that efficient. John Ross did look really good, though, and that's something. But even then, it was like a safety really bit on a play. I don't know. I'm not encouraged as much with John Ross as I am like Hollywood Brown or A.J. Brown. DK Metcalf, though, rookie wide receiver DK Metcalf, looks like he's going to be established a lot in Seattle. Next game, division game, Philly versus Washington. I was really surprised with Washington in the first half, But Philly ends up coming back. Carson Wentz still looks great, and Deshaun Jackson. Now maybe Carson has that guy that he clicks with a little bit more than Alshon. Maybe he has now that just guy that's his guy. And if Carson has found his guy, Deshaun Jackson, I love to see it. I really root for Deshaun. Washington also found a guy there with Terry McLaurin. I'm waiting to see when Haskins gets in and gets established. But that offensive line needs a lot of work. And I actually don't think Haskins should be the quarterback until that offensive line gets some work done on that, because I don't want to see Haskins get crushed immediately. And that's probably what would happen if he's in Washington. But they impressed a little bit for me. Unfortunately, Geis is hurt now, which that really sucks. I'm really rooting for Geis. Next game, Chargers versus Colts. Colts impressed me more. Look, I'm not super down on the Colts, but I also wasn't this guy that was like, the Colts are still winning the division. I don't see that happening. Sorry. But the Chargers looked good and looked like they maybe didn't need Melvin Gordon as much, with Austin Eckler being able to catch the ball out of the backfield and still run the ball pretty efficiently. Austin Eckler looked great. And Keenan Allen still looked very impressive. Phillip Rivers is Phillip Rivers. If you guys listen to the podcast, you know how I feel about Phillip. I think everyone kind of just forgot how good Marlon Mack was last season. I heard so many people down on Mack, and he still looked great. It's Marlon Mack. Like, Marlon Mack's a good running back. The story for the Colts, man, Malik Hooker. I was so high on him during that draft. And I obviously, as a Buckeye, I'm a Buckeye, if you guys don't know from the podcast. But I thought Hooker was one of the best safety prospects I've seen in a long, long time. And he still is. If he can stay healthy, he is going to be amazing in the NFL. Next matchups are the two games from Monday night, starting off with Houston versus New Orleans. In Houston's part, Deshaun Watson looked great. They still have a little bit of trying to figure out, the whole Laramie Tunsil. I don't think Laramie Tunsil was amazing in this game, but I think he's going to be very good. Deshaun Watson has a little bit better protection. It wasn't as bad as last season. I think it only gets better. And then they utilized the wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I actually wasn't down on either one of the matchups between Hopkins and Marcus Lattimore because I'm really high on both of those guys. And I think that they both kind of had their moments. So impressive from both ends for them. And then ultimately, New Orleans just has a little bit more talent. Alvin Kamara is phenomenal, and they end up winning this game late. But these are two good teams, two teams I see leading their divisions in the playoffs. And lastly, the Oakland Raiders versus the Denver Broncos. And the Raiders impressed me. They really did with this whole AB saga going on. I thought that they were going to be, like a 5-win team or 6-win team with AB. They lose AB, all right, maybe like a 4-win team. And no, they came out and they beat a Denver team that I just straight up thought was better. I thought that Philip Lindsay should have been utilized more in this offense. And Denver's defense is very, very good. But Derek Carr had a very good game. Like, you gotta call it when you see it. Derek Carr had a very good game. Tyrell Williams really impressive. And the story of the game in Oakland is Josh Jacobs. I think that they found their running back of the future. I don't think that many people really doubted that, but Josh Jacobs is that dude. And they have their guy there. He looked super impressive. So some things that changed for me is just not much changed for me in week one in terms of my predictions or anything. I'm really excited that Lamar and Kyler both kind of proved a lot of people wrong. I was high on both those guys. Maybe I should put a little bit more respect on Derrick Henry's name and maybe a little bit more on the Bills. But I don't think that too much of my predictions I'm going to change. This was week one. I wouldn't panic over the Browns. I'll say that. I wouldn't really panic over the Browns or the Steelers. But Baker still had a very good, he was 22 of 29 before the third quarter, before the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was atrocious for Baker, but he shouldn't have even really been in that game. I get it. I'm not really putting that on Freddie too much. I think Baker's that leader, that fighter that wants to keep going. But I just don't think that this team has the chemistry yet. I think that they'll figure it out. I think they really need to work on the offensive line. But I think that people, it's the sky is falling in Cleveland. I don't think the sky is falling in Cleveland. I don't think the sky is falling in Pittsburgh either. I think that just Tom Brady is phenomenal, and he just destroyed them, and they should have been more prepared. But I wouldn't be calling for Tomlin like some Steeler fans do every year. He's still a top 5 head coach. I think that you guys are insane when you do that. But it happens every year. I think that there should be some talks about Fickner being fired, though. I really do. Yeah, there's some concerns with Ben. I would say that. But yeah, the Steelers and Browns, I'm still not going to go crazy on. And I do think I got to be higher on the Ravens straight up. I just thought that the losses that they had on defense were really going to hurt them this season, and it doesn't look like it is. And I know that there was Miami, so maybe I shouldn't be as high on Baltimore as I am because Miami's bad. But I think that I should be a little bit higher than what I was previously on Baltimore. So that's the things that I had to say for the entire season, or for the entire week 1. Jesus Christ, not the season. Everything could change by next week. So I'll give my predictions for next week as well in another video. And this was week 1. Tell me what you guys thought. Give me some guys that were like, yo, you did not mention this dude. Give me that random rookie from Western Michigan that had a really impressive, 5 plays, and that you want to talk about. Because that's the kind of stuff I like talking about. So tell me what you guys thought of overall week 1, and give me your takes. Everything. Subscribe to the podcast if you don't subscribe to the podcast already. But if you're already watching this, you probably already subscribed to the podcast. So we'll be bringing out more podcasts, but this is just kind of a nice way to make some videos, pull out some content for the NFL, as we need to talk more about the NFL as well. And then we'll have Premier League videos, and then even some video game stuff. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you later.